On behalf of the ULI Memphis District Council, I want to welcome you to the third annual Regionsmart Summit. The overarching goal of Regionsmart is to bring together thought leaders like yourselves to learn, connect, and collaborate on the challenges and opportunities that face the Mid-South region. The Regionsmart Summit, as Anna mentioned, is powered by the Mid-South Mayors Council, which is a group of regional mayors from Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. They come together to work towards the betterment of our region. ULI is proud to convene this group of mayors, and we're proud to convene the Regionsmart Summit. In order for ULI to present interesting and impactful programs, we have to garner support from the broad community. We're quite fortunate to have a committed group of sponsors, and I think we're going to show them on the screen. Yep, there they are. And I want to thank each of you and express our sincere appreciation for your support. Regionsmart is our largest event. However, we provide programs throughout the year, and we introduce Mid-Southerners to best practices in city building by bringing together smart, talented, and committed people to help build a better community. Again, our programs would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to invite Eric Barnes, the publisher of the Daily News, and the members of our Mid-South Mayors Council to the stage for the opening segment of today's summit. Again, thank you for joining us, and I hope you find the morning to be fruitful.
That wasn't forced at all. No, not at all. Thank you all for being here, and thank you. And they'll make, if I drop this mic, somebody will wave at me and tell me I'm not talking loud enough. I was going to start. I have these very fancy notes that turned into a piece of parchment in the rain, but I will start and we'll go left to right with Mayor Strickland. Why regionalism? Why is this event important? Why is your involvement in working together as a mayor's council important for Memphis and the area?
For me, it's a couple reasons. First of all, people live in regions. We in city government often focus on our borders. I don't think the public does as much. They'll shop in one area, live in one area, go to the movie in another area, and no matter where you live in this region, if you're in New York and somebody says where you're from, you say Memphis because it's the Memphis region. And then you look at that areas that are really booming with growth, it's the metro area that's growing. Our metro area is kind of static, and it's one of the few that are doing that. So we all need to do better. And if we can recruit a huge business with 500 employees, they're going to live in all or most of these cities. So we all benefit.
Mayor Luttrell, I think from early on, you were one of the first guests on Behind the Headlines, the show I do, and you talked very much and very bluntly about you were mayor of all of Shelby County, not just the suburbs, which was, I think, at the time, something of a shift in terms of how that role was viewed after, a number of political things. So regionalism to you beyond the boundaries of Shelby County means what?
Well, I think we're being forced into regionalism, and I say that in a positive way because I think it's a good thing. But if you think about it, let's just look at Shelby County. It used to be big old Memphis, and then you had all these small municipalities in Shelby County. They're not small municipalities anymore. You have three of our 7 municipalities in Shelby County are in the top 25 population-wise across the state of Tennessee. So our suburban community is growing in a very significant way. But when I say getting forced into regionalism, let's think about the issues of the aquifer. how many municipalities and how many geographical areas are feeding into the aquifer. And we're going to have to start making decisions about the aquifer on a region-wide need basis. Environmental issues. We know air quality and water quality issues impact not just Shelby County and not just Memphis, but it affects the entire Mid-South area. So I think we need to start thinking about those things that compel us to think collaboratively. I was talking to a Russian delegation of local officials a year or so ago, and I was explaining this to them. And this veil of confusion just descended over their eyes. And I thought as I was talking to them, they think totalitarianism is a pretty simple way of governing. Well, they are. We have a very complex system of government here, and it's requiring us to kind of think complexly with complexity.
With complexity, yes, with complexity. Yes.
But I think
edit
it's a
that
good
out.
thing. I think it's a good thing.
Mayor Huffman, you're here obviously, so you believe in regionalism and you're part of the Mayor's Council. Do you have a commission or you have some sort of body that you work with? Are the other politicians you work with, are they as in favor of regionalism as you are?
Well, I think it's been a learning experience over the years, Eric. It's Mayor Luttrell's right. We've sort of been forced into it because we're trying to do more with less. And if you're working in on a regional basis, it means that you can pool resources and do some things, particularly if you're a rural county, that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And there are other areas that, quite frankly, the problem that you're facing has to be solved on a regional basis. There's no other way. Air quality. Air doesn't know where the city limits of the county lines are. Watershed areas, flooding issues, that's based on geography, not so much political distinctions. And so some of the problems that we face, there's no other alternative but to approach it on a regional basis. And quite frankly, the thing is this. It helps if you know the fellow that you're going to be working with on these issues before a problem pops up rather than after. If Mayor A already knows Mayor B and he's associated with him and you've talked to him on issues in the past and you're familiar with each other, when you do have some real challenge that pops up, you've already got a relationship there. And so that makes a big difference in solving some of these regional problems.
Mayor Bryant, same question.
I think coming from Forest City, Arkansas, at least an hour away from here, that if my people can find jobs in this city, in this area, and we can flip that around, we have a new company that's coming to Forest City with possibly 800 jobs, then we'll have the regionalism concept will come into play because all of us have the same problems, workforce readiness. And if we're not ready to work, regardless of what comes to Memphis, what comes to Forest City, what comes to our region, we won't be getting those businesses, and we need to come together as a group regionally and try to make sure that we're workforce ready by having everybody at the table. And we've been doing this for a number of years. I think the old Governors Alliance we had some years ago, we were trying to work on regionalism, and I think it's a good thing because it brings all of us together and we can look at the education, we can make our priorities, what we want to do and how we want to do it, that make our region the best region in America.
Yeah. And Mayor Musselwhite, you are, I mean, like a little different than the other non-Memphis mayors. You, to many people, back to the Mayor Luttrell's analogy with the Russians, South Haven's just one more neighborhood in Memphis. It's one more neighborhood in the area because the border is, most people don't really think all that hard about crossing the border if they're going shopping or if they're going to go live down there, schools, taxes, and so on. But it's one more neighborhood. How does that play in? I mean, how much do you, let me put it this way, how much do you pay attention to what Memphis and Shelby County are doing as the sort of big center of the area, even though it's a different state and a different municipality?
Well, you're right. We're different in South Haven because, we're viewed a lot of times by Mississippi as Memphis, because we're so close to Memphis. And then by the same token, Memphis views us as Mississippi because we are Mississippi. So we kind of have a twofold interest there. We need Memphis to succeed. We obviously need Mississippi to succeed. So we are unique in that area. We're now the third largest city in the state of Mississippi. And, no one would have thought that 20 years ago. South Haven started as a sleepy suburb of Memphis, and without Memphis, there would be no South Haven. In the early '60s, that's when the initial homes were built in South Haven, and that's when the community started developing. So regionalism is tremendous for us. I mean, we, like the mayor said, There may be lines on a map, but there's not lines on the ground. And the spillover effect, whether it be good or bad, from all of us affects each one of us.
Do you, I never, I don't follow Mississippi politics as much as I follow Tennessee politics and obviously local politics, but being far away from the capital relatively, being kind of on the outskirts and the outer edge of the state, do you all have a good or bad relationship with the capital? I mean, you know, I'm sure certain people sitting on the stage would say that they feel kind of far away from the state capital and don't get the attention they feel they deserve. Are you in that same boat relative to Jackson, the capital of Mississippi?
Well, that's an extremely loaded question.
Yeah, I know. No one's recording this. This is totally off the record. It's totally fine. Don't worry. It won't come back to bite
I
you.
showed up to be a gentleman today, so I'll say just positive things. But you're exactly right. There's no doubt it hurts us. You know, we are so far from Jackson, and you look at the major media sources, television in Jackson. They get the press there, so people are more informed about what happens in Jackson on the coast. Even Tupelo, South Haven does not have. We do not have our own television station. You know, we have one newspaper. So getting the message from by the time the message gets from Jackson to South Haven, or from South Haven to Jackson, it's kind of diluted. So that is definitely something that's a challenge for us and is a big concern of mine.
Yeah. For some of you, we'll go in any order you want, but I know the two of you, I would imagine you participated in the Amazon HQ2 pitch. What was that like to come together as many communities participated? I think Germantown was involved, different chambers. Who wants to take that?
Let me let Mayor Luttrell start because he's the one who organized us as a county. Got all the cities together with all the different chambers together under his leadership.
Well, I can tell you it was a very pleasant and very pleasurable experience, if for no other reason that it showed that collaboration can be accomplished around some very complicated issues. And I've got to give a great deal of credit to our local Memphis chamber that really stepped up and provided the leadership to kind of pull it all together. And they did, I think, a remarkable job of reaching out across Shelby County and saying, okay, this is a one Shelby initiative, and if we're going to put our best foot forward, it's got to be through collaboration. And there was a partnership that was built around the greater good of what Shelby County is looking for. And what did we gain from it? What we gained from it is, I think, an amazing insight into our strengths and our weaknesses. I think we walked away from that experience knowing that if we're really going to be on the competitive edge, there's some things that we have to do. But we also had an opportunity to look at our assets and say, okay, we're in better shape in some areas than we thought we were. So I think probably, certainly it would have been great to have Amazon, so I'm going to say equally as important. What I'm going to say is that what was really gained from the experience for me was that it shows that on issues of that magnitude, we have the ability to work together and partner. And that's a good sign for our community.
Did you get any pushback? I mean, that pitch involved Germantown. I mean, you're the mayor of Memphis. You've got the Memphis challenges and opportunities and focus. You're not brilliant at the basics in Germantown, but to do that pitch, you had to work with Germantown. Did you get any pushback on that?
No, I didn't expect to. I mean, there were sites all throughout the county, and let's just say Amazon picked Collierville. I would have been the first person in line cheering that decision because the first round was like 5,000 jobs. I thought a lot of those people are going to live in Memphis, so we need to think about it in that way. When Mid-America Apartment announced they were leaving Memphis to go to Germantown, and it literally was like a half mile east from where they were, it didn't bother me. Maybe it should have. I mean, we fought to keep them in Memphis, but, they're still in our area. And I think we ought to think less about fighting on our little boundary lines and more of our fight is with Louisville, Kansas City, Nashville. We want them in the area.
It's definitely with Nashville, definitely. You mentioned, Mayor Bright, the 800, some sort of company is that company there? I apologize. Is that company there, or that's a prospect?
They're in the design phases. Rui is a Chinese manufacturing company, and we always have our fingers crossed because you know how national politics is, and they're talking about tariffs and this, that, and the other. And I would hope, and we would be prayerful, and we would hope everybody send a prayer up for us to get those 800 jobs, because it would be not just beneficial to St. Francis County and Forest City. It would be beneficial to the region because people from Memphis will come over and participate in our workforce.
And I would assume that was part of the pitch, that the Memphis airport, the regional, all the assets of Memphis were part of your pitch, or
Yes,
not?
yeah, that's part of the pitch. And you have the river here, you have the airports, we have I-40, the major, one of the what would I say, interstate that has more traffic than any interstate highway in America, and we have rail service and all. And number one, we have cotton, plenty of cotton, and they will buy up all the cotton in the region.
Same for you in Mississippi. I think some friends of mine at the chamber, or maybe it was the CVB, I can't remember who it was, but told me that they'd seen the kind of pitch video to sell North Mississippi, and it's basically Beale Street, Grizzlies, the airport. It's all these, and they had mixed emotions about that. That here are all these assets up here that Mississippi is selling, but Memphis is a huge part of how you all sell yourselves, I assume.
There's no doubt about that. I'm here to officially tell you that we're stealing your amenities in South Haven. So we're going to use it as much as we can. But, I will say this. I thought the Amazon HQ2 project was a great gut check and a great gauge for all communities to see how you stack up on a national scale. If you read through that detailed proposal, they tell you, what their employees are looking for. Everything that is attractive to them. So when you look at the Memphis Metro stacking up against all the other cities in the country, I thought it was a good gut check for all of us. I was kind of in a twofold situation. Mississippi put a package together, and then obviously Memphis did a great job. I thought Memphis was very aggressive, very quick, putting the package together. I thought y'all did a great job. But I will admit, if this is not being televised all throughout Mississippi, that I would be pulling for Memphis a little more than Mississippi. Unless you stick it in South Haven, it's going to be better for us if it's in Memphis, because like Mayor Strickland said, we know that if you put 50,000 jobs in Memphis, we know that a lot of those people are going to be living in South Haven, so it's creating jobs for us as well. So again, South Haven benefits from Memphis, and from a regional perspective, it would be outstanding if we were able to. I think the HQ2 project may be possibly a little big for all of us, but the thing is, there's another one coming that I think us, putting our, proposal out there, I think it stacks us up nicely for the next one that comes along.
And any thoughts on HQ2 or?
Yeah, I'd mentioned the mega site, Eric. That's another area where you got 4,100 acres of land that the state owns that they're working to get ready for an industry. Toyota's looked at it twice. Other industries have looked at it twice. But keep in mind, that is a regional industrial site. There's no way a company, for example, Volkswagen in Hamilton County in Chattanooga that hired 2,500, the spinoff ancillary jobs and the suppliers that came with that was 4,600 jobs. And so there's no way that rural West Tennessee in this area would have the labor for a project like that. It would take Memphis and Shelby County people coming up Interstate 40 very quick. It would take a labor force down here to really fill those jobs for the most part. Now, it would be a boon to West Tennessee, clearly. But that 4,100 acre site is the #1 industrial site in the state of Tennessee. And of course, the state, I believe, and the governor have been pushing that thing and marketing it hard. When they go to Europe or China, they're pushing that. They got a great marketing video that we've all seen on it. That's a game changer. It's in a rural area in Haywood County, but it's the Memphis regional mega site there because Memphis is the marketing point. A company in South Korea may not know where Brownsville, Haywood County, or West Tennessee is, but it's going to know probably where Memphis is.
And I would assume that, back to talking about state politics, that's a state side. It's a lot of state money that's been going into that, and I know there's lots of frustration in some quarters that it hasn't been finished. Oddly enough, a week ago, I was on this stage with the Republican governor's candidates, and we talked about that some. and they're kind of going after each other on why it wasn't finished. But I would assume you are lobbying up in Nashville at the legislature to get that done for the reason that even though that mega site isn't located in your county, it's going to benefit your county. Do you guys coordinate? Does West Tennessee coordinate at the legislature to say, look, this is in the interest not just of Tipton, not just of Shelby, but of all these areas? Or
Well,
is it
yeah,
ad
they've
hoc?
actually got a council that they put together that works on that now. I think Joe Barker in the Southwest Development District got that organized, and I don't know, Mark White, he's over that. They've got a council put together to kind of lobby and talk to the legislature in Nashville about the mega site and what we think needs to be done there and how it ought to work. But keep in mind, it's always one step forward and a half a step backwards a lot. I talked to Claude Ramsey. He used to be deputy governor here, and before that, he was the mayor of Hamilton County. Before that, he was the property assessor in Hamilton County. He said, listen, it took us 17 years to get Volkswagen over here. You've got to be patient, stay positive, sell your communities, and do what you have to do to get it done. It's critical we get it done here in West Tennessee, Eric, because if you look at the 21 counties in West Tennessee, we've lost population in 15 of them. The 6.5 gained population haven't gained very much at all, and so it's crucial that project go forward and be successful.
Shift around a little bit here, and I think some of the speakers later today are going to talk about green spaces and public spaces. Obviously, that for you and for both of you in Shelby County have been huge priorities for everything from the big riverfront announcement, Green Line, Wolf River Greenway. But for you all, to what extent is that important that some of these big projects in Memphis that are green space, do they affect you? I'll look right at you. I mean, are those important to you that there's a green line, that the riverfront be developed, that these things happen up here because, again, do your citizens come up and use those and then go back home, or?
Yes, sir. I mean, not only the plans up here, but also we've joined the Greenprint 2040 plan. So South Haven is also participating, in improving green spaces, throughout the whole Memphis metro. We have projects that have started. South Haven, I've said many times, is very far behind with pedestrian-friendly options. So we're working hard to do that. We've started some projects adding, bike lanes, as simple as that, starting with bike lanes on the streets. But then we have two major trails that are going to happen this year, a trail connecting Central Park and Snowden Grove Park that ties in with another trail that goes back to Baptist Hospital and Airways. Eventually, when it connects at Snowden, it'll go through the new Silo Square that was just announced this week. There'll be a 10-foot multi-use trail that connects to our multi-use trail, so it just continues to build that. And then Olive Branch, on our east side, is doing some things too that will eventually connect with us. So it's sad that they name it 2040. That's a long way away, but things take time. But we are making progress towards that. So what we're doing in South Haven will connect with what Memphis is doing, and it'll make us a more attractive place to live because green spaces and trails, things like that are what people are looking for, and just makes us more economically attractive.
And I'll look at you. I mean, from a point of view of Mayor Strickland or Mayor Luttrell, bearded hipsters want craft beer and green lines, and we know that. Is that going on in Tipton, or are green spaces and connections important? It's early, I know. It's really early.
We don't drink beer in Tipton County, Eric.
So that's what I heard.
First of all, It does make a difference. Our green spaces are called river bottoms. We don't really call them green spaces. But we use Memphis amenities and Shelby County amenities, quite frankly, in industrial development. I mean, we find that more and more, particularly the larger global companies, want to be close to an urban area, and they want those amenities. They just do. It's a quality of life issue, and we let them know what Memphis and Shelby County has down there. And again, we talked about this last year at Regionsmart. No one ever comes up to any mayor, I don't believe, and says, man, I love this wastewater treatment plant you got. I think I'm going to move here. Or, man, you guys have got an ample supply of natural gas. I think I'm going to come to Memphis over here. They care about the green spaces and the creative art that you've got. They care about, the trolley, the recreational facilities. They care about the softer things. That's what makes someone really love their community. And there was a speaker last year that talked about that to great detail, and I thought it was compelling. So we do the same thing. To answer your question, yes, when we've got folks that are interested in moving into Tipton County or industries that are interested in coming, we tell them what you've got.
Yeah. Mayor Luttrell, you're in your eighth year, right? When you came in 2010, we're still in the recession. Some of these green initiatives are happening. I can remember Mayor Wharton at a Greenprint Summit talking about how he'd been an advocate for green spaces and bike lanes, but had gotten a lot of criticism, and I'm paraphrasing him, that we're in the middle of a recession and that bike lane in the street isn't helping the guy get a job, and that he had difficulty connecting the importance of those bike lanes and things like that with the people who were at that time out of a job. Your perspective now versus 8 years ago in terms of these city, private, public dollars being invested in green space, I mean, and you've, I think, prioritized that since you've been in, but your perspective on it now.
Well, first of all, Eric, I think the regional Greenprint's one of the more transformative regional collaboratives that we've seen here in years, because it's more than just bike trails, and it's more than just going out to Shelby Farms and enjoying a day of hiking. The regional Greenprint pulls together commercial interest with residential interest with recreational interest and puts them all on the same level of saying this is a livable community. And when people start to accept the fact that it's bigger than just a bike trail, and they start to see how the dots are connected, then they start to see how it impacts economic development and growth in their particular community. The architects of the Greenprint really exceeded my expectation. I was just really amazed at the work that was done, and the way that the MSA really built around it. Mayor Musselwhite referred to 2040. I don't think that that's necessarily an unreasonable target date, because it's still transformative. It's still an education process, and there's still a lot of money that's going to have to be spent to bring it to its full reality. And I was just in a meeting yesterday where we were talking about the long-term visionary plan of how we're going to be able to sell this to the greater community. And I think it's going to have to be a process of osmosis where people get comfortable with the process and what's taking place and what they're seeing. I think one of the more beautiful sights that we have in Shelby County now is the crowds that we see out at Shelby Farms along the CSX Green Line, where you can actually kind of walk from Collierville all the way to Midtown, Memphis. You can bike it. And to see the crowds that are out there tells us that people are embracing the concept, and it's going to take some time to bring it to its full fruition, but it's really been transformative in a lot of ways of how it has pulled 3 states together, along with the multiple communities that are buying into it.
And Anna Holtzclaw is making wild hand motions at me. Are we? Do we have a couple minutes left? Okay, a couple minutes. Just I'll give you a chance to talk about green spaces. I don't know. I know on the Arkansas side, certainly there are big plans for the levee trails and the connection across Big River. What about in your area?
And, first, let's go from the negative to the positive. Negatively, what would it do for the quality of life for our area if we did not have walking trails, we did not have bike trails, we did not have museums, if we didn't have all of those amenities? On the positive side, we have them. We just need to do a better job of advertising them. Say in Forest City, we're in the process now of we don't have bike trails, but we're working towards that. But we have walking trails. We're ready to build another one. Some people donated 13 acres of land. We're going to make that a nature trail and a nature farm. We have walking trails. We're in the process. Yesterday I was with contractors, and we were going to build an aqua center so that we can have swimming and a therapy pool for those kind of people, and that will bring people in. We're always trying to find ways to have a better quality of life for anyone that wants to live in our city. But then we have Memphis out here that has everything, and our people come over to the Redbirds games. Our people come over to Memphis to the zoo. The school was over here, I think, last week. So we try to utilize what Memphis has in the green space. I haven't walked across the river bridge, but I intend to, so to have that experience. And then, you have your Memphis in May, and that's a green space, and it's filled in May. So that brings people in from our region, from Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. So we just need to capitalize on what we have and do a better job of publicizing it and advertising it as a collective rather than individuals. So some things going over here, and I never know about it until the last minute. So therefore, if we do a better job of that, I think our regionalism will be even stronger.
And I also have to note they come over and go to the Overton Park, and
Yes.
not park on the greens. No.
Okay.
It's a shout out to the Overton Park Conservancy, which I'm involved in. Last to you, the Riverfront Development Corporation, now Memphis River Parks. Carol Coletta has taken over, and she joked, and for some reason you all let me in an off-the-record announcement of this, but I'll cheat just a little. And she joked with you that this, and she joked publicly, this is probably the 20th riverfront plan back to the founding of Memphis. That there have been all these plans and they haven't happened. I would assume that the work that Mayor Luttrell did, the work that has been done in Arkansas in terms of levee trails, all that makes more possible this very ambitious plan for the riverfront, because it's not quite as pie in the sky as other plans have been, because we can now visualize the Wolf River Greenway, we can visualize the Green Line, we can visualize changes at parks in Shelby Farm.
Yeah, let me get to the riverfront.
Yeah.
Give me a minute to
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about parks in general. I want to tweak the conversation that was just going on and kind of go back to the future. The folks with gray hair in here probably remember when Memphis, their parks had people working in the parks, city employees working in the parks, working with young people. We have over 100 parks. That is not happening. It hadn't happened in probably 3 decades. This summer, for the first time in 3 decades, we're taking 20 of our parks and putting 4 employees out there to work with young people, sports and arts and whatever activities they want to do, because so many kids don't have access to the Green Line or Shelby Farms. We got to take it to them, and we need to intervene in the lives of more young people and use parks to do that. Now, with respect to the riverfront development, the concept, in fact, it's called a concept because it was a menu of options that we could do. The reason it can happen, in my mind, is the TDZ that we have downtown, which allows us to keep the state portion of the sales tax that we use to redo the pyramid, do some work at the convention center, and work at the pinch, is the money coming in is exceeding those obligations. So we said, ask the state, can we use that money on the riverfront itself? That is going to allow us to be able to fund these, if the Brooks Museum moves downtown, any alterations at Tom Lee Park, the Fourth Bluff, Mud Island. That's something we didn't have before. So that makes it, in my mind, more realistic, because we can't take money that we use for police and fire and paving roads and shift that to an aquarium downtown. No, we got to have this extra money, and hopefully soon the state will approve that and be able to unlock a lot of the private donations. It's going to take even more private donations than the TDZ money, but this is going to be a good marriage. We have a good riverfront. I think we can get a great riverfront.
All right, we will leave it there. Thank you all, and thanks everyone. Thank you.